Don't say later or someday. Say now. Stop making excuses. This is the path to freedom. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Unstoppable Woman podcast. I'm Amira Alvarez, the founder and CEO of the Unstoppable Woman, and I am super excited to bring to you today a whole episode on messaging. We are going to be covering what's your message and how to get clear on it so that you attract your ideal clients. Here's the thing. You know that in business, you have to solve problems for people with your product or your service. But if you're not reaching your people, you're not going to be able to sell, and you're not going to be able to make money, and you're not going to be able to make a difference in people's life. So you have to make sure that you are marketing effectively. And one key aspect of marketing that is super, super critical is your message. What you're saying and how you're saying it, what you stand for, what you're communicating in everything that you put out there. And this message is so critical to naturally, easily, effectively attracting your ideal clients. Okay, but that's a big problem. It's a big problem if you don't know what your message is, if you're afraid to put it out there, if you're unclear, if you're in the confusion, if you don't know what you do or how you do it or why you're different, you're going to end up being milquetoast out there, and you're not going to be able to stand out from the crowd. You're not going to be able to really attract your ideal clients that are willing, more than willing actually, like eager to pay you for your services. You're going to be just one of many. You're going to become a commodity out there. And that doesn't work if you're really looking to grow your income, if you're looking to make a quantum leap in what you are making income-wise. You have to really have a clear message that speaks to your ideal client in a way that has them begging to take the next step with you. Now, the next step might be buying your product or your service, but generally speaking, the next step is just doing the next thing, clicking the next button, reading the next newsletter, engaging in the next social media post, getting to know you, like you, and trust you that much more. You want them taking that next step as quickly as possible. You want to build their curiosity, and you do want to lead them effectively to taking the next step with you, which is ultimately to buy your product or service. And that process that, some people call it a funnel. I like more of a matrix. Like it's not always linear or unidirectional, but this coherent plan that has your clients really saying yes to multiple things in your world, so that it becomes a no-brainer for them to take that next step with you. You do want all of that. That matrix or that funnel is a conversation for another time. Today, we're just speaking about your message and how important your message is. Messaging comes in where you are really trying to help your client know who she is potentially going to be working with, and whether that resonates for her, whether it's a match for her, whether she's on the same plane, to use the language of universal law, which I do all the time. It's the lens through which I teach marketing, sales, business, all of it. You need to be on the same vibrational plane as your client, and your client needs to be on the same vibrational plane as you. Now, let me clarify that. There has to be an aspect that's on the same vibrational plane. If your client is already at your level, they wouldn't need your help. They wouldn't have a problem that you could solve. You do need to be light years ahead of someone in a particular aspect of what you do in order to be able to help them. So from that perspective, you're not at the same vibrational plane, if you will. However, there is something that your client is vibrating with, in sync with, in the same energy as you, and is resonating with. And that's where your message comes in. That's what you really have to dial in, so that your client goes, oh, she gets me. Oh, that makes total sense. And now she may not have ever heard what you're saying before. Okay, it might be new to her, but there's something in what you're saying that makes total sense to her. And there's so much to it. Today we're talking about the message, but there's also, the marketing funnel that I spoke about. There's the energy behind it, the tone of voice, all sorts of aspects of how you're showing up and being that is required to make you magnetic and attractive to your clients. Today, messaging. So this is huge, and it's often a place where I see people go wrong, quote unquote, meaning they don't know how to really claim their message, and they go milquetoast. They go same as everyone else, and they become a commodity. Or they go down a rabbit hole of insecurity, confusion, and overwhelm, and they get lost in a story of, I don't have anything to say, or what do I have to say that's so unique or different, or how am I different than anyone else, and can I really say that? Can I really claim that? What do I actually do for people? What is it that I actually do? So many times I've seen this happen for people. They get lost in the weeds, right? What is it that I really actually do for people? And is it really important? Does what I do matter? Is it too simplified? Will people pay for it? And here's the thing. What you're an expert in seems simple to you. Marketing seems simple to me. I'm really good at it, okay? But I know how complicated it is for other people. Mindset, understanding how the mind works, how to help people change their self-image and get out of their own way. That seems simple to me, but it's complicated for other people. So oftentimes what's simple for you, you might start saying, well, is that really necessary? Is that such a big deal? And you start undermining yourself. You need to own what you do. This is part of owning your message, okay? And this spin can go on until you've completely undermined yourself and your value, okay? Convinced yourself that you don't know what you're doing and all of that. And you know what happens when you do that? Not only does it hurt you, okay? If you're listening to this, raise your hand if you've gone down that rabbit hole before, okay? I know I can't see you, but let me know. Do you relate to that? I know I used to do this a ton when I was first starting. What is it that I do? What do I stand for? And you go down a rabbit hole. So I understand that. Now, what happens? It hurts you. That's a painful experience. Raise your hand if you've had that painful experience. It's so frustrating to know that you have something important to do in this world and yet not be able to really clearly articulate it and to really own it, but you don't know how to say it. So that hurts you. It feels terrible, sucks. But not only that, it hurts your customer too, because your customer needs your help. Your customer has a problem that you solve. And if you're not clear about what you do, you can't help that person. They won't find you. They can't relate to you. And therefore, they continue on with their lives being challenged by this problem that you could so easily solve if you really understood how you message it. So let's avoid that. Instead, let's get clear on 5 things for your message. Okay, these 5 things are who your ideal client is. Many of you have heard the concept of ideal clients before. We're going to go into that in more depth here. We're also going to look at what the biggest problem is that you solve. And we're going to look at what do you care about? This is so important in your messaging. What do you actually care about? We're going to dive into that. Then we're going to look into what's the biggest problem that you solve. Okay? What's the biggest problem that you solve? What's your differentiator? And how do you put it all together? So we're not going to overcomplicate this. We're going to break it down to some simple steps. And these are all based on answering questions. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions in this episode, so you might want to listen to it through and then go back, write down the questions again and answer them. Sit down and answer them. Nothing happens differently in your life until you take a different action. So please don't just listen to this episode. Go actually take some action here. Okay, quick action too. Have you heard me say it before? If you're a loyal listener, you know I'm all about the quick decision. You have to become a quick decider. Okay, this is part of it. So you're not going to get overwhelmed. You're not going to get overcomplicated. You're just going to answer the questions. Okay, your job is just to answer the questions without going into the confusion. If you find yourself going into the confusion and making it more complicated than it is, remember, this is your self-image, your subconscious programming saying that you're not allowed to have what you want, that you are not someone who is clear, who owns their messaging, who can step forward and build an extraordinary business, who can step into her greatness. Okay, this is your subconscious saying that's not who you are. You've never been that way before. You've never done that before. So I am going to cause you to be confused so that you stay exactly as you are, which we know is safe, because any change to your subconscious mind, any change might produce some sort of pain or even death. And it wants to keep you from that. So it will do the lesser of two evils, if you will, and put you into some way of stopping. Confusion and overwhelm is often how your subconscious gets you to stop. So just remember that. This is easy and you are clear and you don't have to make this complicated. With messaging, you need to know who you're speaking to and what you want to say to her. I want you to keep that in mind as we go through this. Who you're speaking to and what you want to say to her. So who you're speaking to is the idea of your ideal client or your avatar or your bullseye client. Now, here's the thing. There are lots of people that you could work with, that you could help. You have an ideal client. You have someone that you love working with. That's like the sweet spot, the center of the bullseye. We want to get clear on who she is, okay? Because if you're clear about who she is and you are passionately speaking to her, then all the women who are on the outer rings of the bullseye will also be attracted to you, but you will be super clear and your ideal client will be like, holy smokes, this woman's for me. I want to work with her. Okay, so who is your ideal client? Who is this amazing woman? Could be a man also, okay, but I like working with women. So I like working with men too. Here's the thing. There are male clients behind the scenes in my business, even though my business is called The Unstoppable Woman. But I love speaking to women. And so we're going to use a her. So you can answer this question, who is she, by answering based on demographics or based on psychographics. And a better answer is psychographics. So let's help you understand the difference between these two. Demographics are things like age, male or female, income bracket, middle class, working class, upper middle class, what kinds of jobs they have. Are they in the C-suite? Are they manufacturing jobs? Are they managerial jobs? Are they freelancers? That would be a demographic. So these are the things that you could put on, say, a census report. Okay, these are your ethnic background, your sex, your age, your weight, all of those things you could identify and say it is very specific and would be something that they would ask on a form, if you will. Now, what about psychographics? Psychographics are the soft side. They're less metric-driven, number-driven. They are less clear-cut, but they still are extraordinarily important. In fact, they're probably more important when it comes to messaging than demographics. So some questions to help you get at psychographics. So psychographics are like the psychology behind the person. Is what does she care about? How does she approach life? What's important to her? What keeps her up at night? What's the conversation in her head? What does she say all the time? What does she love? What does she complain about? What does she wish for? What are her hopes and dreams? Answer these questions for yourself. Again, remember to download this episode and go back and listen to it again so that you can really sit down and answer these questions. You probably have a client that fits your ideal avatar, client, bullseye to a T. This is who you can keep in mind that you're speaking to. This is who you're going to want to think about. Well, what would she say? Okay, what keeps her up at night? How would you describe her? Okay? Really hold her in your mind's eye when you're doing your marketing. Sometimes, though, not always, this is an earlier version of yourself. Not always. Sometimes your clients are not earlier versions of yourself, but oftentimes they are. So look at that too. Who were you before you learned this skill set that you use, before you solved this problem for yourself and mastered it? You want to really get clear on that. Go back in history a little bit. You're unique. No one does it like you do it, but you are not a unique snowflake, meaning there are other people who have these same issues as you. We are a human race with more commonalities than differences. So remember, you're not alone in where you were, and use that to your advantage. So this is how you get at the psychographics. What does she love? What does she hate? What keeps her up at night? What is she frustrated about? What is she annoyed about? What does she get excited about? What makes her joyous and dance? What does she like to do on the weekends? What does she do to relax? What stresses her out? All of these kinds of questions will get you super, super clear on the psychology of your woman. So this is who your woman is. Now that you've got that clear, you're going to want to put her to the side for a moment. We'll come back to her. Don't worry. We care a lot about her. But now let's look at what you care about. And here's how we're going to get at that. If it didn't matter, what would you actually say? What would be the thing that you would want to just scream from the rooftops? What would your rant be? If it didn't matter, if you weren't afraid of offending anyone, if you didn't think you were going to be judged or that it would be inappropriate, if you weren't afraid, what would you say? We're not talking to her, okay? We're not talking to your client directly. But in your mind, if you wanted to wake her up, what would you say? What is the real issue going on? If you were on your soapbox, go on a rant. What would you say? Because this is your fundamental core message. This is your stance. And you have that inside of you. If you got angry a little bit, or if you just really let it rip, what would you say? So to give you an example of this, I want to share my stance with you. And here's the thing. You probably have multiple stances. I know I do. This is one of many. I love taking people through a process of getting clear on all that they stand for. But for right now, just listen to this. Stop making excuses. If you want different results, you've got to do something different. Stop kidding yourself. You're not broken. I'm not going to say that you're broken. I'm not going to shame and guilt you. But you do need to wake up. Otherwise, you're going to remain trapped. And you don't have to. There is a way out of feeling super, super trapped. Trapped at the same income level, trapped in the same life. What do I mean by that? Same body if you feel like you don't like your body, the same relationships if you feel like you don't like your relationships, the same sex life if you don't feel like you like your sex life, the same emotional chaos, the same ups and downs. You've got to fundamentally change how you see yourself and what you see as possible for yourself and how you think in order to get different results. If you don't change that, I don't care what I teach you in terms of the outer game, the tactics and the strategies. If you don't change how you're thinking, you'll get the same results again and again and again. You'll continue to self-sabotage. Different thinking, though, creates different results. And this is a matter of choice. And you have to take personal responsibility for that. Some people will choose to remain stuck in their story because it's known, it's comfortable, it's safe, and it gets you the same results. They might not be the results you consciously want and desire, but you'll get those same results again and again if you're not willing to choose and take personal responsibility for your life. Others will choose the path less traveled. These are the ones who are willing to face their fears, get uncomfortable, and go for more. These are the ones who are made for greatness and actually create it. They step into their greatness and live out their purpose. I believe that everyone has greatness inside of them. Everyone is made for greatness, but not everyone executes on it. Don't be one of those people that doesn't execute on it. Don't have regrets. Stop staying small. Don't say later or someday. Say now. Stop making excuses. This is the path to freedom. When you own yourself, when you own your life, when you own your full expression of who you are in this world, and you are unafraid to go forward and do more and be more and have more, when you claim your frickin' life, this is freedom. And this is what I teach women. I teach women business owners, entrepreneurs, and empire builders how to do this. And it all starts with breaking through your income barriers, because if you don't know how to make money, you will always feel trapped. And that's the first challenge on the path to freedom. And I'd love to show you how to do that. So that was mine, one of many, but that's one version of it. What's yours? Okay? Are you willing to offend people? Are you willing to be divisive, to make people think, to take a stand, to go out on a limb, to risk judgment? You have to be able to do that. You must. Now, if you listen to that and were like, oh my God, there's no like going out on a limb there. That all makes total sense. You're my ideal client, right? You are smack in the middle of the bullseye. You may not have heard someone say it like that before, but you are like, wow, that makes total freaking sense. Then you're going to want to like, come find me, okay? Book a consult, do the next thing. And if you were like, oh, that's interesting, then you're on the outside of the bullseye, okay? And if you were like, oh my God, that's so offensive. Like, I'm not playing small just because I'm getting the same results. I'm not self-sabotaging just because I'm getting the same results. I'm a good person. I work hard. And you are. But guess what? You haven't broken through. You don't know how to create the results that you want each and every time you claim them. You don't trust yourself. You don't know how to do that. You don't understand the methodology to achieving your goals each and every time faster than you ever thought possible. If you don't know how to do that, then you haven't made your breakthrough yet. You're going to keep getting the same or similar results, and it's going to be frustrating. Okay? So that is a stance. Now, your stance is going to be totally different because you're in a different line of business and you do different things. But the idea here is no milquetoast. Okay? You don't want to be milquetoast, and you don't want clients who are milquetoast. Because guess what? If your clients are ho-hum, if they don't have opinions, if they don't have strong passions and desires in the lane that you're in, they won't act. They won't take action. Now, you might be a dahlia collector and sell dahlia bulbs, and your clients might be passionate about that, but very introverted, very shy and retiring. I'm making that up. I don't actually know what dahlia collectors are like, but I'm creating concept here. You don't have to speak like I speak. You can speak softly, generously in a different way, compassionately in a different way, passionately in a different way. You just have to care passionately about what you do, but the energy behind it can be totally different. You've got to show up as you. And remember, the law of compensation says you'll be compensated according to the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and the difficulty in replacing you. This message, this stance, is about the difficulty in replacing you. You have to own your uniqueness, your position. You have to do that. This makes you magnetic to your ideal clients. So your action here is to go on a rant. I would suggest that you record it into like a voice memo on your phone, or, do a Zoom recording or whatever, and get it transcribed. Or if you like writing, and I love writing longhand or even on the computer, simply write it out. Don't censor yourself. Just go. Just go. What do you really want to say? Because this is your stance and a big part of your message, okay? You don't want to go small and you don't want to shrink. That just keeps you at the same level. If you're censoring, if you're like, well, is this what I really need to say to people? That's not what I'm asking you to do. That's not the way forward. Don't do that, okay? Don't do that. So we've covered who your woman is, psychographics and demographics. We've covered what you care about, your stance, okay, your rant. Next, we want to cover what problem you solve. What is the outcome for your client if they use your service and do the work? Remember, back to the law of compensation. You'll be compensated according to the need for what you do. Is there a problem that you're solving, and is it a big problem? Okay, you have to articulate that for yourself, and you have to claim it and own that. What is the outcome for your client if they use your product or service and do the work? What problem gets solved? What does the after look like? What headache, complaint, issue, frustration do you help with? Go deep here. Don't go surface level. Go deep. You might solve a problem that on the surface looks like one thing, but if the person gets that result, it has a follow-on effect to so many other areas of their life, their health, their relationships, their financial well-being. What else does it help? Go deep here. Let's say you work with women who want to let go of weight, some sort of weight loss. And when they do that, they feel great in their body. Then what gets to happen? And that's a key question to ask yourself. Maybe when they feel great, they start having better sex. And then their relationship gets better. And then instead of being headed for divorce, they're like newlyweds again. They're like little lovebirds. And then what gets to happen? Their kids' life gets better because their parents didn't separate and get divorced or get resentful and stay in the marriage or any of that. They are modeled how to have a lit up life. Now that is a huge benefit. If you know that you are changing the lives of the children of the woman you're working with, that's huge. That's huge. I know that's a big one for my clients. They often tell me privately that they want to make this breakthrough because they want to show their kids that their mom could do it. And if they can do it, then their kids will have that as a model and be able to do that themselves. They will know it's possible and they'll believe themselves. So this is a huge benefit. And the flip side of it is a huge problem. What happens if you don't model that for your kids? Or you stay frustrated in your relationship because you don't really like how you feel in your body? What happens to the kids then? And if you see that that is a huge problem, then you know the value of what you're putting out there. Let's use another example. What about a photographer? Maybe the photographer is taking, wedding photos. And that seems pretty straightforward. You're capturing this experience for perpetuity, right? But what really gets to happen here? The bride gets to feel beautiful and special and loved and adored. And not just once, not just for one day, but for forever. Every time she walks into her office or into her house and sees her wedding photos, she'll be like, I am loved, I am adored, I am beautiful. We have this amazing relationship. She stays more committed to the relationship and she shows up. And what does that help? So on and so forth. What about if you're a landscaper or house cleaner? Maybe you help people create a beautiful environment. You provide calm and cleanliness and relaxation and less stress. And as a result, what gets to happen? Maybe that person can focus on their business more because their environment is more peaceful and less stressful, and they don't have to be running around doing all this stuff. And if they focus on their business more, what gets to happen financially for them? Oh, they get to make more money in their business. Look at that. They're less distracted. That is a huge problem that you're solving. Can you own that? Can you own that? So the big question here is, what's the deeper problem that you solve? Next up, let's look at what your differentiator is. So this means how you do it differently, whatever you do. Whatever service or product that you provide, how do you do it differently? What makes you, your business, your company, your brand different? Why do your clients choose you versus someone else? You have to understand this. You have to really know what makes you different. So what makes me different is that I work on both the inner game and the outer game, right? The tactics, the marketing, the business plan, the strategy, the sales, all of that. And I map it to the key inner game pieces that allow you to execute so that you don't keep playing at the same level, but you go to the next level and the next level and the next level, and you start making more money and you start having more freedom and all of that. That makes me different than other business coaches. I'm also a real straight shooter. That makes me very different, but I do it compassionately. That's unique. And there's so many other things. But what about like Nordstrom's? Their differentiator was the customer's always right. They really set themselves apart that way. So what do you do differently? Do you have a lot of personal touch? Are you quirky? Are you fun? Do you take extra care? Is it white glove treatment? What's different about your processes, your attitude, and your services? So the processes are the systems, how you do things behind the scenes that really change things for the client or the customer. Your attitude, that's pretty clear what an attitude is, how you show up in this world, and your services. How do you do what you do differently? What's your unique differentiator? Write that down. Get super, super clear on that. And remember to go back and listen to this episode again and, write down these questions and really answer them. Once you have these 4 things, you're going to want to pull it all together. We have to do one more thing. Pull it all together and get out of your own way and just pull the trigger and get it out there. Get your message out there. So how do you put it all together? Well, you do the work of answering all these questions, okay? That'll get you super, super clear. And then you start putting it into practice. Nothing happens in a vacuum, okay? You can think about it, but nothing's really going to change until you start putting it into practice. This means getting it on your website and your website copy. This means doing social media posts with it. This means writing emails with it. This means using it in your sales conversations. This means putting it into videos that you use on your website or social media or in your emails. This means putting it in the ads, in your webinars, in your trainings, all of those places. You're going to want to think about how you can start integrating this stuff. There will be some touchstone phrases that you've come up with. There's some clear things that you have defined, and you're going to have to put it into action. And you need to start where you are right now and start using it. Practice does make perfect. Well, we never get really to perfection, but you get to a level of competence with it, a level of agility with your message by using it. Okay, knowing who you're speaking to, what makes you different, what you care about, and your problem that you solve, the ideal client that you have, all of this stuff. When you really speak to her, speak to the problem she has, speak in her language, speak about the problem that you solve, how you do it differently. When you pull that all together with why it matters, you will have a powerful message, but you need to practice this. So you're going to want to, 1, hold her, your ideal client, in your mind and speak to her in her language. 2, you're going to want to use the concept of educate to sell, to use your rant to help her understand what she doesn't know consciously, but she might know unconsciously. She'll recognize it as the truth and get it. And then 3, you need to connect the dots and let her know how you're different and what the real problem is that you solve. When you pull that all together and you practice it by putting it out there, you start owning your message, and it's pretty amazing. Now, here's the rub. You have to do this quick. If you sit around and you cogitate on it too long, you will talk yourself out of it, and you'll get right back to the place of being confused. Now, why is that? That is because your subconscious doesn't want you to go out on a limb and be more visible because you might get hurt, okay? This is a core visibility issue. It's not really a messaging issue. You can get super, super clear on your messaging and still not put it out there because you have a visibility issue. You have to move through your blocks around visibility. What's stopping you from actually putting yourself out there in this world? And that's a key element to being successful in business and actually making bank, okay? Actually growing your income, actually making more money than you ever thought possible for yourself, but you do desire, okay? So I would love to help you solve your visibility issues, and I'd love to help you go deeper into marketing. This is one of those things that I love helping women with. And if you like this episode and you want to go deeper into all of this, into how to pull it together into an effective and easy marketing plan that you can execute on, and so that you bust through the psychology that's keeping you from quantum leaping and really growing your revenue quickly, I would love for you to come to the Unstoppable Woman Income Breakthrough Summit, where we are going to be covering all of this and more. The URL to come to the summit, to register for it, is joinamiralive.com. So again, that's joinamiralive.com. And Amira is spelled A-M-I-R-A, joinamiralive.com. And the summit is coming up November 5th, 6th, and 7th. We're doing it virtually and in person. Virtually, obviously, you can do that from anywhere in the world. We would love to have you join. We often have people from Hungary, from England, from Germany, from Canada, from New Zealand, from Australia, from all over the world. So please join us virtually. Or if you want to come in person and you're open to traveling, we are doing it in Atlanta, Georgia, and we have a great room rate. We've got great things going on in person for you. We'd love to have you in either the virtual room or the in-person room. Again, joinamiralive.com, and we've got special pricing now, and go check that out. So thank you for joining me. I hope this helped you get super clear on your messaging. This is just the tip of the iceberg. If you want to take your marketing plan to the next level and really grow your business faster than you ever thought possible with the inner game and the outer game, the tactics and strategies, as well as the shifts on the inside, the mindset pieces, please join us at the summit. It's not to be missed. It's 3 days of me teaching you exactly how to break through. Okay, I'll see you there. Rock it out. Be unstoppable. Take care. Thank you so much for joining us and for being a part of the Unstoppable Woman movement. I want to let you know that we've got a ton of free resources for you for scaling your business at theunstoppablewoman.com/free stuff. Please go ahead and check those out. And we'd also love your help in getting the message out. Share this podcast with all the unstoppable women in your life, your friends, your colleagues, your business besties. Please do that. And if you're game, we'd super duper appreciate a review on iTunes as well. Thanks so much, and be unstoppable.